A heartfelt wish ***. December 24th, 2023. Dear Santa, I'm feeling alone this holiday season. I know it sounds crazy writing a letter to you, someone I've never really believed in. But Santa, I need to share what's been weighing on my heart. I mean, is it so wrong to reach out to a fictional character when I feel so lost? Honestly, I've been a mess this past year. I've made mistakes, ones that have hurt the people I care about. Why am I confessing this to you? Well, maybe it's because I think confession is good for the soul and I really need some soul searching right now. I feel like I haven't truly slept in ages. Is it sad that the only person I can talk to is you? Well, I did mention I'm lonely. Let me turn the rambling into something coherent. My best friend Ella, do you remember her? I always thought she was on your good list. We became inseparable back in high school, practically sisters. Our humor matched, our interests aligned, and it felt like we were two halves of the same whole. But, as life goes, we ended up going to different colleges and lost touch. Yet, the universe has a funny way of bringing souls back together. We would run into each other randomly around town. Hours would slip by as we fell back into conversation like no time had passed at all. Fast forward a few years, and we found ourselves reunited at a summer festival. By then we had exchanged numbers and began talking every day. Eventually, we took the plunge to rent a small apartment together. I had my best friend back and life was wonderful, until things spiraled out of control. 6 months ago, Ella and I hosted our annual Christmas Eve party. Everything felt festive and right. But then Ella pulled me aside, and I could tell something heavy rested on her heart. "Are you okay, Ella?" I asked, searching her eyes. She took a deep breath, looked down at her feet, then stepped closer. "I've been thinking about something. Will you?" Before she could finish, she knelt down, revealing a little velvet box. I was taken aback. Was she really proposing? "Will you marry me?" I froze. Absolutely froze. It was so sudden, so unexpected. My mind raced, it had to be a joke. Ella was always the sensible one. Why now? It was too much to process. "I know you're dating Sam," she said softly, "but he's not right for you. I love you and I want you in my life forever. Will you be my wife?" I just stared, caught like a deer in headlights. And instead of saying anything, I panicked and ran out of her apartment, down the street, and drove straight to my parents' house. I didn't return until the new year. I'm ashamed to admit I was that cowardice. But wait, it doesn't end there. I walked back into the apartment as if nothing had happened, as if the last few days had been normal. I could see the hurt in Ella's eyes, but she greeted me with that same warm smile, and I shrugged it off, pretending everything was fine. You won't believe it, Santa, but Ella was right. Sam wasn't good for me. I found out he was cheating. I didn't even get to confront him. He left me first. How's that for karma? Ella was there for me again. We bonded, laughed, and somehow mended the bits of me that Sam had broken. Life returned to our normalcy, as if the proposal had never occurred. Another Christmas Eve arrived, and we threw our party, which went off without a hitch. Then, with the final guest leaving, Ella turned to me, her expression suddenly serious. A chill raced down my spine as her knee dipped towards the floor once more. Once again, she pulled out the same velvet box. "Will you marry me?" I was speechless. The thought replayed in my mind. I thought we had put all of this behind us. "Thanks for not running," Ella whispered, her voice shaking slightly. I wanted to run. I didn't know how to respond. "Where is this coming from, Ella?" I asked, concern etched across my face. "I love you. I've loved you for so long." "What?" I sputtered. This was not happening. It couldn't be. "You and I both know you have feelings for me too. I know it's scary, but I can help you through this." "No. I'm straight," I retorted, tears brimming in my eyes. "Are you?" she pressed gently. I'm with Sam because I am straight. Because he was the first guy that asked you, right? Being with him was easier than confronting the truth. The truth hit me and I couldn't bear it. "I can't even say it," I shouted. That was the first time I felt real anger towards Ella. We stayed in the same apartment yet didn't speak for weeks. The guilt eats at me as I write to you now, Santa. I see how much love she offered me, only for me to turn my back. Why did she forgive me? How could she? What's worse, Santa, is that I didn't just ignore what happened. I refused to acknowledge her love for me, even as I felt it in return. I was horrible. Ella eventually moved out, and while we remained friends, the bond we shared became strained. I didn't want to bore you with too many petty details, but I will. I can't hold it in anymore. I never imagined how much regret could weigh on someone until last Christmas. I lost my grandmother and it woke me up. I realized how short life is. The fact that I was dying with my regrets terrified me more than coming out. I started working through the tangled mess of emotions. Eventually, I had to face it. I was in love with Ella. I don't remember an exact moment, but all those years I had been blind to my own heart. I was almost ready to accept who I was. Christmas Eve was just around the corner again, and I made the decision I would say yes this time. 6 would be our lucky number. But when I called her to reconnect, I learned that she had moved again. Old me would have given up, but I reminded myself again that life is too short, and I needed to take the plunge. I drove all over town looking for her. Finally, I met her brother, and he revealed where she was staying. I told you that I have no hope. I hang up the phone every night wishing it's just a nightmare and that she hadn't truly given up on us. My heart can't take any more pain. I know you're just a figment of imagination, Santa, but I need to ask you for one thing. Ella deserves to know that I love her, and if there's any way you could tell her that, please do. Tell her to wait for me. Thank you, Santa. Yours sincerely. Trying to be good again. As the days passed since that fateful call to Ella's brother, I found myself wandering the streets of our old neighborhood, desperate to catch a glimpse of her familiar figure. I replayed every memory of us, the laughter, the tears, the love we had shared. I envisioned the Christmas lights twinkling around her, and the joy in her eyes when we celebrated together. Every part of me missed her terribly. On the evening of December 24th, I found myself sitting in a cozy cafe that we used to frequent. It was a chilly night, and the shop was filled with warm laughter, the smell of fresh pastries, and the comforting sounds of jazz drifting from the speakers. But the ambience felt hollow without Ella beside me. I clutched a cup of cocoa, watching the snowy flakes fall softly outside the window, a reflection of the heaviness in my heart. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a notification. I pulled it out, heart racing, but it was just a social media update about holiday events around town. My heart sank and I stared out the window, lost in my thoughts. Would she even notice my absence this Christmas? Did she think of me at all? My insecurities were overwhelming. In a bold moment, I decided to step outside for some fresh air, hoping to clear my mind. As I walked the familiar path toward the park where we once spent countless afternoons, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. Each corner seemed to whisper her name, reigniting feelings I had buried too deeply for too long. Just as I approached the park, I stopped short. There, in a small clearing adorned with half-buried snow, I saw her. Ella stood with a group of friends, laughing and sipping hot drinks, her bright smile illuminating the evening like the stars above. My heart jumped into my throat, and I froze, uncertain of my next move. She hadn't changed a bit. The way her laughter rang through the air sent shivers down my spine. But a shadow of doubt flickered in my mind. What if she had truly moved on? What if she was happy without me? The old fears clung to me, almost suffocating. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward. Ella, I called, hoping her name would break through the laughter. The moment she turned, time seemed to stand still. Her eyes widened in shock, and just for a heartbeat, the world around us faded. The smile on her face faltered, replaced with cautious curiosity. I could feel the gaze of everyone around us, the expectant silence turning heavy with unspoken words. I've been searching for you, I continued, voice trembling slightly. Can we talk? Sure, she replied, her expression unreadable as she gently excused herself from her friends. We walked a few paces into the quiet of the park, the snow crunching beneath our feet. I could feel the tension in the air, thick and electric. There was so much I wanted to say, but the words caught in my throat. "Why didn't you tell me you were moving?" I started, minus the casual small talk I had rehearsed. "I thought we were working through things." Ella sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Because I didn't know if we could go back to what we had after everything." Her voice was soft, but the pain of unspoken feelings hung in the air between us. "I thought I was straight. I lied to myself for so long," I admitted, the truth spilling out faster than I could contain it. "When I told you my heart belonged to someone else, I was scared and confused. But I was wrong to push you away. I've loved you for years. Not just as my best friend, Ella, but as something deeper. Something I was too afraid to acknowledge." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she took a step closer. "You left me on one of the most important nights of my life. I proposed because I believed in us. I thought you were fighting your feelings, not denying them." "I was afraid, Ella," I whispered, my voice barely a breath. "And the truth is, losing my grandmother made me realize what's important, who is important. Life is too short, and I can't bear the thought of losing you again." Ella closed the distance between us, her eyes shimmering with a mix of hope and uncertainty. "What are you saying, Alex?" I took her hands in mine, holding them tightly. "Will you give me another chance? This time I'll be honest about what I feel. I want to be with you. And I want to build a life together, if you're still willing to have me." For a moment, silence enveloped us. Ella searched my eyes, rendering me breathless with hope. Finally, her lips quirked into a smile, a joyful sound escaping her lips. "Yes. Yes, I will." The moment hung between us, pulsating with promise. I pulled her into my arms, holding her as tightly as I could, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. My heart raced unsteadily, but this was a good fear. A fear of loving and wanting with everything within me. "I can't believe I waited this long," Ella laughed, her voice muffled against my shoulder. "You scared me every time I proposed. But I knew you, Alex. I knew how you felt." "I'm sorry for being so blind, but this time I see you," I replied, pulling back enough to look into her eyes. "I love you, Ella. You are my everything." With the Christmas lights twinkling around us like a constellation, I felt the world shrink away into oblivion. What mattered was this moment, this love, and the opportunity to build a life together. With my best friend now becoming my partner, I knew it was the start of something beautiful. Underneath the stars, with her in my arms, I vowed to never take her for granted again. As we walked back towards the gathering of friends, hand in hand, I felt lighter than I had in years. The lonely chapters of my life were being rewritten with love, laughter, and a promise to be good together. Dear Santa, you may not exist, but you've helped me find my way home. Thank you for the gift I didn't even know I needed. Yours truly, Alex, one heart richer.